So you're wondering, is human design legit? That is a legitimate question. And if you're here and you're interested in this topic, my guess is that either you've been seeing it around and you're kind of curious about it, somebody told you about it and encouraged you to check it out. Maybe your parent or your child or your partner or your sibling or a good friend of yours said, hey, you should really check this thing out. It's awesome. And you're a little bit skeptical. You're a little bit like, I don't know, like it looks really complicated. Where does this thing even come from? How do I know that it's really even going to help me? Right? So if you're one of those people, this video is for you. So let's go ahead and check it out. The first thing to say is that human design is a channeled system. Okay. It was a gift that was given to humanity through the eccentric and mystical Rahuruhu, who received it from some being, light being, who he called the voice, right? Who downloaded the system to him and continued to support him to develop the system during the course of his life. So if you're really skeptical about something that's channeled, that right there might make you question the legitimacy of human design, which is something I understand. You know, I mean, there was a time in my life when I was really not open to that either. But I have been awakened to the significance of it and how legitimate it actually can be. Now, if you're one of those people who's kind of steeped in Western science and you're used to being able to go find studies about things or research about things or experts that have a lot of letters after their name or things like that, you may not find that about human design because it really is metaphysical and it really is a gift from spirit, if you will. And so it's not going to exist in the same realm as the one where all of that kind of Western scientific stuff lives. Okay, so just know that. Now, if you're willing to be like, okay, I get that. It's different. And you're willing to kind of put that part aside for a little bit and open up to the possibility that something that's metaphysical could be legitimate and beneficial for you. Okay, then you could start to move into the realm where human design could start to make sense to you. And just to know that human design draws from 4 different ancient wisdom traditions that are thousands of years old and have been practiced and proven through practice by millions and millions of people. So it has that basis. It's more of a basis in experience. It's more of a basis in practice, if you will, than it is a basis in that kind of left brain analysis. And these other traditions do have their own logic. And I know in yoga, I'm a radiant body yoga teacher, we talk about yogic science. Okay, so it draws on the yoga traditions, and there's a yogic science. And then there's also astrology, which was considered a science and is still considered a science by many. It is based on astronomy, and it has to do with quantum physics, and it has to do with living in a holographic universe. So if you're open to those ideas, right, then human design might feel more accessible to you. And let's just remember, astrology was a core part of people's lives until only about 400 years ago, where we had the kind of scientific revolution came in and said, oh, no, 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 no. If we can't touch it, if we can't count it, if we can't, have it be in physical reality, then it's not valid, right? That happened with the scientific revolution. But just know that's a relatively small part of the history of humanity, right? For the vast majority, people have been looking at the stars and tracking the stars. The Mayan calendar was deep into the astrology, right? So just know that astrology, again, has its own legitimacy, and it is its own science. And then it's also based on the I Ching, which it has its own kind of logic and its own kind of science. And so if you're open to the possibility that there are other kinds of sciences that are based in more ancient traditions and are not coming out of that relatively recent 400-year journey of Western science, right? Then you might start to feel like human design is more legitimate for you. And then the other thing is that sometimes people like question about is, well, it's just based on my birth information, right? Like astrology. That's the only thing it's based on. How could that possibly tell me so many things about myself? Well, my best explanation that I have for that, which is similar to an astrological explanation, is to say that we do live in a holographic universe, which means that the part contains the whole and the whole contains the part. And so we are a part of the universe. And so when we look at what's happening with the planets, it has to do with what's going on inside of us as well as what's going on out there. That what is out there is within, and what is within is out there. And so if you can kind of go along with that idea, then maybe you can see that your birth information, which is really a map of how it's like your cosmic address, right? It's like when you were born, you came out of the womb and you're like, I am here. This is my cosmic address. I am here on the earth. And so what an astrologer chart does, and human design does, but it does two of these, is it takes a snapshot of where the cosmos was in that moment. And so it gives you a map of what it was that was influencing you and is in effect a part of you at that moment in time. Now, human design actually takes two snapshots. Astrology just takes one when you were born, and human design takes one approximately 3 months earlier, about 88 days prior, and puts them together. And there is an esoteric, metaphysical reason why it does that. But just to know, it takes two. And so we get an even more complex system in a different way than we get in astrology. Astrology has a different way that it's really complex than the way human design is. So if you're open to that possibility that your relationship to the planets and to the earth and to the sun, okay, at these two moments in time can reveal something to you, especially when you pour that information into 4 ancient wisdom traditions and get to see what they have to say about you, right? Then maybe you could start to see maybe human design is legitimate. But of course, that's up to each one of us, right? It's up to every one of us. And so you're a choice. And if I've been able to pique your interest during this time, I encourage you to go ahead and check out the Start Here playlist that I have. The very first one is What is Human Design? And it covers in more depth some of the things I just mentioned today. And then it walks you through the human design chart and what those elements are. And then it continues on to give you in-depth education about the different aspects of the human design system. And so I encourage you to go and check it out. If you do have a spark of interest and you don't even know why, right? But you can just feel it in you. You're just like, I don't know. It's fascinating. I want to check it out. To go ahead and see if it lands for you. I mean, human design is not for everyone for sure, but for the people that it's right for, it is absolutely life-changing. Who knows? You might be one of them.